Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wade's Movie World. This is Wade, and welcome to my very first movie commentary. This is going to be more like of a test movie commentary. I'm testing things out just to make sure they work. That way, I can do more movie commentaries in the future. Before we get started, just want to let you know that the movie we are watching today is The Abyss, the special edition. And I'm watching it on just regular DVD. So I just figured I would let you guys know that. If you would like to watch along with me, go ahead and get your digital copy or your Blu-ray or your DVD set up and ready to go. I am paused at the very beginning of the 20th Century Fox logo, and we are about to get started. So without further ado, let's watch The Abyss. So I am pressing play in 3, 2, 1. Okay, there's the 20th Century Fox logo. Not with the regular fanfare this time, but with a sonar sound. Sonar radar, whatever you call it. Okay, here's the start of the movie with the opening quote. When you look long into an abyss, the abyss looks back into you by Friedrich Nietzsche. Here's the opening title, The Abyss. And if you hear me kind of scrambling around, guys, I have, better turn it down so I don't get hit with copyright. Anyway, what I was saying is I have notes here to go along with the movie. I watched the making of it and read some research that I did on The Abyss last night and took about 8 pages of notes. Okay, here's the USS Montana, U.S. Navy submarine, and this is how the movie starts out. A little bit about the movie. This is a James or Jim Cameron film. It was produced by Gail Ann Hurd, who also produced films with James Cameron such as Aliens, The Terminator, and of course The Abyss, and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And they're picking up some sort of weird signal, wondering what is going on. They think it's a enemy sub or enemy ship of some sort, when really it's not any of those things, but something else. Just to let you all know, the music in this film is done by the very talented Alan Silvestri, and he did other films that a lot of us know and love, such as The Delta Force that starred Chuck Norris. Let's see, what else did he do? Predator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Predator 2 with Danny Glover. He did the Back to the Future films. He did Judge Dredd, which is a guilty pleasure movie of mine. He did Forrest Gump, and he did the Avengers films. The only Avenger film he didn't do was Age of Ultron. On making this film, Cameron said, quote, "If I couldn't do what 2001 A Space Odyssey did for outer space and science fiction films, if I couldn't do that in the underwater arena, I didn't want to make the movie at all." And here the Montana runs into the abyssal trench wall. Now things are going very badly for the crew of the Montana. Fires breaking out, leaks springing. This guy with a fire extinguisher that it just showed on screen is Mike Cameron, which is Jim Cameron's brother. Yep, things are not going well for them right now. By the way, guys, happy Super Bowl Sunday to you. Um, I do plan on watching the game tonight, unless the players or anyone on the field starts kneeling, and then if that happens, I'm going to turn it off. Hey, they just launched the emergency buoy, so with the locator beacon on it, that way people can find them, but no one's going to survive this. Oh boy, that would not be fun. All that water rushing in. That'd be a horrible way to go. Drowning. Oh, I do not want to drown. I don't want to drown. I don't want to burn to death. I don't want to freeze to death. If I die, I'd rather someone just shoot me right between the eyes and end it fast, or die in my sleep, or something non-painful or non-invasive. That's how I want to go. Okay, now we cut to two military helicopters flying, and the oil rig ship, the Benthic Explorer. So this movie was made in the year 1988 and is considered the toughest shoot in film history. The film was released on August 9th, 1989, and that's when it opened in theaters. Of course, this is the extended cut. There is a theatrical version, but this is the version they always wanted to release because it rounds out the film much more than the original theatrical version did. As far as how much money it made, The Abyss grossed $54 million at the US box office, and worldwide it grossed $90 million. So it didn't do too badly. I'm not sure what the budget for this film was. And there's our first shot of the lead actress, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who plays Lindsay Brigman. And she would later go on to star in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, alongside Kevin Costner. And Robin Hood, that was one of the best movies of my childhood. That, Ghostbusters 2, and Batman 1989 that starred Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Bud goes along with this. They're going to have to shoot her with a tranquilizer. Okay, there's our first shot of the underwater oil rig, the Deep Core. So, The Abyss is a science fiction epic dedicated to the powers of the human heart. It's also a love story that Jim Cameron said is played out against the tremendous depths of the ocean and the wondrous mysteries they contain. There's Ed Harris, first shot of him, who plays Virgil Bud Brigman, kind of the overseer of the underwater oil rig, runs things down there. Keep your pantyhose on. That's his famous line in this movie. He's getting the word that they're going to have to shut everything down and move the rig, and he's not going to be happy about it. What? There's Hippie and the rat. I forgot what the rat's name is in this movie. I forgot to write it down. It's one of the ROVs. And this lady who's in the submersible flatbed, her name in real life is Kimberly Scott. She plays the character by the name of One Night, and she should have won an Oscar for this film. I think she is very good, and she went on to star in some other films. She starred in Batman Forever, and she also starred in Batman and Robin. And then I believe she was the uh, policewoman at the desk of the police station for the Port Authority Police Department in the film World Trade Center. She's been in a lot of other stuff, and she's really good. She's a pro, and um, she doesn't get the credit that she deserves. But she's a damn good actress. So as far as the cast goes, I've already told you about three of them. The cast includes Ed Harris as Virgil Bud Brigman, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio as Lindsay Brigman, Michael Bean as Lieutenant Coffey. Of course, we all know Michael Bean as Corporal Hicks from the film Aliens, and he also played Kyle Reese in The Terminator. Then there's Leo Burmaster as Cat, Todd Graff as Hippie, John Bedford Lloyd as Jammer, J.C. Quinn as Sonny, Kimberly Scott as One Night, and Adam Nelson as Ensign Monk. And there's some other people who aren't as well known in this film, but everyone that really appears on screen gives a pretty good performance. Now the Navy's telling the crew below this ocean surface who's working down there that they're going to use their rigs for the rescue operation for the USS Montana. And they're telling them they'll give them 3 times pay, but Brigman's not having it. I would be just like Bud. I'd be like, you can sit down wherever you want, but yeah, this is not a rescue vessel. You guys get your own shit together and go rescue your folks. We're not doing it. One thing about Michael Beam in this movie, he's the bad guy in this film, and they tried to get him nominated for Best Supporting Actor Oscar, and it didn't happen. But he gives a solid performance, and I'm with them. He should have been nominated, but the Oscars are so screwed up, especially these days. I don't even watch the Oscars anymore. I used to, but not anymore. Okay. So one night's in the submersible flatbed, towing the rig to the new location so they can uh, go rescue the crew of the Montana if there are any survivors. But really, that's not the only reason for the mission. There's also a secondary mission that only the Navy knows about and that they're not telling the people down there. So James Cameron did not want to use bizarre special effects. He wanted to do as much of this film as possible, real for real, using real submersibles and real ROVs, and he got his wish. The film was done in uh, Gaffney, South Carolina, at an unused structure. Um, that was discovered for the tank facility in the steel and concrete ruins of an abandoned nuclear project. So right now they're showing the tension between, they're not yet divorced, but Virgil and Lindsay, who were in the process of getting a divorce. And Lindsay's on her way down to the rig, which Bud doesn't know it, but he'll soon find out. So she's taking the Navy crew down there. So back to what I was saying about where the film was shot, at the abandoned nuclear project in Gaffney, South Carolina. An unused turbine pit is discovered and put into service as the production's smaller tank, which became known as B tank, and it was 210 feet long and 20 feet deep. Oh, this is one of the best scenes in the movie right here, where they play a classic Linda Ronstadt song, Willin', as they're towing the rig. And this scene got cut out of the original um, theatrical release of the film and was put back in for this cut of the film. And I really like this scene. It's just a good scene and it's a good song. I'm going to take a moment of silence, guys, so I can listen to this. Oh, that's a good song. That is a really good song. I like that song. It's an older song, but it's a good song. Cab 3 on Final Approach. Virgil's like, oh shit, Lindsay's down here. Crap. Oh, how funny. So back to where they shot the film at this abandoned nuclear project power plant. The main reactor containment vessel, which was a large empty concrete structure with walls that were 8 feet thick. I mean, think about that for a second. 8 feet thick. Wow. Is designed to withstand things like a massive earthquake or the next World War. Mm. So engineers had to assess the structure and concluded that the structure could support 7.5 million gallons of water, and this would become the primary tank of the chute, which would become known as a tank. Okay, they're down there equalizing pressure. So Lindsay and the Navy crew. Telling them to watch each other for HPNS, high pressure nervous syndrome. Oh, Michael Bean's such a dick in this movie, but he plays a good dick. This guy, Cat, um, I don't know about it in real life. I would think so because he's got a sleeveless shirt on with a tattoo that says USMC, so he probably served in the Marine Corps. Uh, he did serve in the Marine Corps on uh, his character did in this film. I don't know about real life. He probably did in real life. Um, so um, can't remember what his name is. Leo Burmaster as Cat. So yeah, that's who that is, Leo Burmaster. So Leo Burmaster, if you're listening to this commentary, if you did serve in the United States Marine Corps, I thank you for your service and God bless you, sir. Um, One thing I like about his character, he's real kind of down to earth country, and I love his cap. He's wearing an Arkansas Razorbacks cap. Ew, gross, hippie! Stop kissing that rat. Ugh. So the whole film centers on the huge underwater platform designed for oil drilling on the bottom of the ocean. James Cameron wanted it to be ambient diving, in which air pressure inside the structure um, matches the water pressure outside for ease of access using mood pools and hatches in the floor. One night it's like, oh, hi, Lindsay. It's like, no one likes Lindsay, at least not yet. She gets more likable throughout the film. A good character direction and character arcs in this film. Good character development. So for the underwater set structure, they merged together several aspects and elements of an oil rig, and um, these are certain elements and also certain elements of a hyperbaric chamber. So they were combined together to create the underwater oil rig structure known as deep core. Deep core becomes, as of that time, that something may have passed it by now, but deep core becomes the largest underwater set ever built. I can't think of any other film that was actually shot underwater like this one was. Maybe there has been now. Um, because this movie came out in 1989, so some of the movie might have done something underwater, but probably not to this huge scale that James Cameron did his movie on. Bud calling her new boyfriend the suit. Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio. She's been in a lot of water movies. She was in this. Um, she would go on to star alongside George Clooney in the 2000 film The Perfect Storm, and she was really, really good in that. She's a very good character actor, as is Ed Harris. I think my favorite performance of Ed Harris has to be when he played Gene Kranz in Apollo 13, the Apollo 13 flight director. He was so good in that film. He's good in everything he does, but I mean, his performance was just top notch in that one. Okay, they're at the, or pretty close to the drop-off point. One night in Flatbed just cut the rig loose, and now Coffee is inside at the mood pool with the entire oil rig crew and his Navy crew, or SEAL team crew, my apologies, and he's telling them about what they're going to do. One thing about Michael Bean, he's kind of being a dick here, but one thing that about his acting, he's a very facial actor. I mean, he brings out all of his performance and emotion in his face and his eyes. Something about his eyes just help with his performances. I don't know what it is. He's got those kind of eyes that just, he can hit any emotion. And we saw a lot of that in the Terminator. Oh, I forgot. He also went on to play another bad guy. He would play Johnny Ringo a few years later in Tombstone. So they're getting geared up, getting the ROVs and submersibles ready to go, suiting up. For the sets and structures to survive the millions of gallons of water that surrounded it, builders and engineers craft the sets from pieces of solid steel. Pieces of the sets weighed upwards of 40 tons and were lifted into place with a giant crane to help build the sets. Okay, now they're going to test the liquid breathing system on the rat. It's a wonder PETA or the SPCA or whatever the animal rights groups are called. It's a wonder that they didn't get hit big time by the animal rights groups for this scene. But there is such thing as liquid breathing. But this is the only scene that they used it for the rat. It's a sheep. There's the very first shot of the film. Okay, they're starting their descent down the abyssal trench wall to the wreckage of the USS Montana submarine. 2.5 miles straight down. That's how far that trench goes. So before the cast arrived on the set in Gaffney, most of them were coming from the Caribbean, fresh off of a scuba certified training course for the film. The cast arrived in Gaffney on set on August 3rd, 1988. So, as far as the dive suits, the backpacks and the helmets used in the film were made and constructed specifically for the film, and they to be able to hear the actors and get their audio. Microphones were built into the helmets for them to be able to talk and give their dialogue. They were made by Top Designs of professional use dive gear, and the backpacks and helmets are of brand new designs, or were brand new designs at the time. So Monday, August 8th, 1988 was supposed to be the start of principal photography, but when that day came, A Tank was not anywhere near ready to go. So the production started in the smaller tank, B tank, and gave engineers and construction workers exactly 1 week to get A tank finished and ready to go and ready to shoot in. The two submersibles, Cab 1 and Flatbed, also shot in B tank. Okay, so they're at the USS Montana trying to get in and see what they can find, if they can find any survivors. I love that line. It's World War III in a can. So Hippie's guiding the ROV in to see if there's any radiation leaks, and there are none. So now the Navy crew, the SEAL team, is going in to look for survivors, and pretty soon uh, Bud and his team are going to join them in the other end of the sub. So scene 59, take one, was the very first shot in the film, the very first motion picture shot underwater. So history was made that day and with that scene. All kinds of stuff floating around in there. And the forward berthing compartment of the sub, heading in. See if they can find any survivors. I wouldn't want to do that. That would be very, very spooky. That would be a spooky mission and a spooky job. Bud's telling his crew to check their gauges, make sure they've got enough air. I'd have that gauge right in front of me if I was them, just to make sure. It's like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. At the halfway point, okay, I'm starting to get low. Okay, I'm not good. Knowing me, if I had one of those backpacks and helmets on, just knowing my luck, something on my backpack or my helmet would malfunction and I'd freaking drown. Never scuba dived before, but I've always wanted to. Oh God. Dead body floats out right in front of him. Eesh. Oh, they're on the bridge at the sub. Sorry, guys, I'm still here. I'm just watching this part of the film. Um, okay, this is either the captain or the XO that they just found. I think that's the captain, if I remember correctly. It's got the keys to the uh, missile compartment, to the missile silos. After all they've already seen, which isn't much, but dead bodies, they're just like triple time on their pay. Sounds like a lot of money for this, but really it's not. And they're just like, okay, let's just get this job done and get the hell out of here. Jammer is one of my favorite characters in this film. I'd be kind of like Jammer. He's the one that kind of freaks out and panics while he's in here after seeing all these dead bodies. And I'd be just like him. I'd be like, okay, I've had enough. I'm out. And guys, like I said, this commentary is just a test. I am going to do more. And it's just me commenting on this movie right now. I am going to do more commentaries in the future, but I'm going to hopefully have guests and people come on to do some commentaries with me because that's what I want to do. Oh God! All right, Jammer's starting to panic now. He just, yeah, that'd make me freak out too. He saw this dead body in a It's like a crab crawled out of this dead guy's mouth, and Jammer just about to come unglued. He's just terrified him, and yeah, I'd be just like you, Jammer. I was like, I'm not going any further in. Mm-mm. Anyway, like I was saying, I plan to have guests on and people uh, doing commentaries with me uh, in the future, but I wanted to do one as a test just to see how it would work. So that's what this one's all about. I'll probably end up doing the Abyss again, but with people doing commentary with me. If they're listening, and I hope they listen to this commentary, the Broforce Squad, hope to team up with them sometime in the near future to do a commentary on a few films with them, or also Mike and Jay from We Watched a Movie. I'd love to team up and do some commentaries with them as well. Um, but they're the Broforce Squad and We Watched a Movie are two other YouTube channels that I enjoy a lot. And there's also another guy. His name is Dave McCrae. I watch his videos a lot, and maybe one day I could do a commentary uh, with him and the guy he does his segment Two Dudes and Some Bullshit with. And Jammer's panicking because the uh, rope that Brigman told him to hold on to as Brigman went to check out the other compartment, the rope broke in half. So now Jammer's on his own, and now he's seeing something inside the sub. He's not sure what he's looking at. And it's something we will see again here throughout the movie. So, uh-oh. Jammer got scared and got knocked out. Now Lindsay's power in cab one just went dead for a second. Now her power just came back on. So they got Jammer back. He's still alive, but he's in a coma, and they've got oxygen on him. And Lindsay's telling Bud what she saw, which was our third glimpse of the NTI intelligence, the space aliens, or the underwater space aliens. So Lindsay told the Navy crew what she saw, and their commander, who is up on the topside ship, Benthic Explorer, is telling them to go to phase 2, which they're fixing to steal flatbed and go back to the submarine and get one of the nukes and get it ready to blow. So the company's name in this film is Benthic Petroleum. And in Terminator 2, during the chase scene after they blow up Cyberdyne, when they steal the police SWAT vehicle, when the T-1000 is chasing them in the helicopter, you see that 18-wheeler that the T-1000 eventually steals. If you'll look real closely on the side of it, it says Benthic Petroleum or Benthic or something like that. Hippie, relax, will you? You're making the women nervous. Cute, Virgil. You think everything's a conspiracy? Everything is. Oh God, I'd be seasick. So we're at topside now, and the hurricane's starting to approach, and the boat is just rocking back and forth very, very violently, and it's making several people on the boat sick. And if I was on that boat, I'd be one of them. Okay, so they're back at the sub getting the nuke out, or one of the nukes out. Yeah, that's a huge missile. And now we get our first glimpse of what's happening to Coffee. He's starting to show signs of HPNS with his hand shaking, so tremors in his hand. So the first few days of shooting in B Tank, which is where the shooting inside of the submarine wreckage took place, the pH balance of the water was not right, and the water became very murky and dark and difficult to shoot in. So what they did to correct that problem, they added more chlorine to the tank, but everyone who was not wearing dive helmets, uh, they were their hair was being bleached, and their the hair fell off their arms, and they started getting chlorine burns. And Jim Cameron said that it was borderline having to go to the hospital. So people not wearing helmets had to grease themselves up with Vaseline to keep all that from happening before they would enter the water. Okay, so they just got back to deep core with the damn missile, and now they're going to go arm it. And Bud just told One Night to get inside flatbed and get the umbilical cable from the Benthic Explorer unhooked because of the hurricane. Now the Benthic Explorer is really rocking. Oh God, I'd be so sick. So the wind and waves are getting so violent up top that One Night's not able to get the cable and get it unhooked from the deep core. And now the topside crane is malfunctioning. They're trying to tell the topside crane operator what to do on the radio, and the radio's dead. So, and now all hell's breaking loose because the Benthic Explorer is being tugged and they're being dragged on the bottom. And of course, the drop off is right there. And there goes the crane, tumbling out of control, disconnected from the Explorer, and now it's headed down to them. Okay, so now they know the crane's coming, so they're trying to brace for it because they know it's coming, and it's coming fast. Sorry, guys, my sinuses are kind of acting up right now. I apologize. Yeah, it's all your fault, dumbass. Okay, there's the umbilical. I love the wardrobe they gave one night in this film. She's got like a white t-shirt on with overalls, cowboy boots, and a cowboy hat. Okay, there's the drop off, and the umbilical's right there at the drop off. And they've got the sonar on, waiting for the crane to drop right on them. Hippie's securing his rat. Boom. And the crane landed just off to the side of the rig, but now they're not out of danger. There it goes. Toppling off the drop off, but the umbilical still connected to the deep core. Yeah, oh shit. There it goes. And there it goes, pulling them. Now everything's going haywire. Oh, shoo. Bet that hurt, getting hit with a steel door. And Lindsay's going down to the battery room to put all the fires out in the battery room. And there goes cab 3, no longer functional. And Lindsay's trying to rescue Innocent Monk, who got trapped under some debris in the battery room. Oh boy. Oh! Here comes more water flooding the rig. Hmm. Oh gosh. Bud's trying to rescue his friends from drowning. They can't get the door open. Now Bud's fixing to be in the same predicament. One thing saves him. It was a brilliant piece of writing. I liked that. Wow. So in order to film this movie underwater, they put the motion picture cameras in watertight, like housing compartment like things, and that's how they were able to shoot uh, scenes underwater. So the scene that just happened, the flooding of the deep core, um, portions of the deep core in the uh, for topside photography in B tank, portions of deep core set were built beneath tremendous dump tanks that can flood the set in seconds, and that's how they did the flooding scenes for the deep core. I forgot to mention this a while ago. Um, Back before the all the crew went to the USS Montana for the very first time, when it showed the liquid breathing scene with the rat, they had to cut that scene of the rat drowning out of the movie in England because the royal veterinarian felt it was painful for the rat. Pretty interesting piece of information, huh? Now they're using the ROVs to search for other survivors, see if there's anybody left alive in other parts of the rig that got flooded. Now Lindsay's outside the rig trying to extend the power for longer so they can have something to breathe while the hurricane's going on up top, so they can try and survive. So again, as far as the filming of the movie and the cameras, a contraption which was called the Sea Wasp, which was designed by Mike Cameron, again James Cameron's brother, acts like a crane dolly in the dry environment, and that was used to get some shots underwater um, using that. Nice little conversation there between Bud and One Night, who seem to be really good friends. Okay, so Lindsay's still outside trying to extend the power. And Hippie's following her with the ROV, and now the camera on the ROV is kind of going haywire. Now the power's kind of messing with everybody again. And now the power just went out in the ROV. And there's an MTI right behind her. And she knows because she sees all those different colors of pink and purple mixed together. She's like, holy shit. They kind of explained how they made the NTIs and their machinery, but they didn't go into great detail um, about it in the making of The Abyss, which I watched last night. Now there's a bigger MTI craft right in front of Lindsay, and no one else knows it's out there because they've messed with the power. It's really neat looking. So, um, in this very scene right here, and in several other scenes, the actors are reacting to nothing and are having to use their imaginations and drawings from the filmmakers to help them get a sense of what they see and how they should react, which is what Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio's character Lindsay is having to do right now. So in this particular scene, which features the character of Lindsay, she's reacting to something that is put into the film later on in post-production. This particular shot was actually filmed in an underwater blue screen tank. And Lindsay just happens to have an underwater steel camera that she's trying to get shots of MTIs on. That way she can show everybody. Now the MTIs are going back down into the abyssal trench, back into the darkness. And now the power's back on. They just developed the film and now Lindsay's showing them. But right now, that smile on Harris's face, he just looks at her like, okay, what am I looking at? Bud's just like, yeah, okay. Non-terrestrial intelligence, NTIs. Well, that's better than UFOs. Hippie. So funny. So everybody thinks she's going crazy, but she's trying to explain to him, no, I saw something. There is something down there besides, or something down here besides us. Something that's not human. And she's right. coffee's starting to lose it because he's starting to really see and show signs of HPNS. And plus, he thinks those things that Lindsay saw as Russians, and really they're not Russian. So he's cut off from the chain of command. He's losing control of everything. He thinks he's in charge, but he's really not. Just being a all-out dick. One night. I've seen this movie when I was a child. I haven't seen all of it when I was a child. I remember I would be flipping around the TV and I'd see bits and pieces of this film, but I'd never seen it in its entirety until 2003. I was actually at Walmart. I was living in Abilene, Texas, and I was at Walmart and I was looking at I think they were like the $7 movies or something like that, and I saw this DVD and it said The Abyss Special Edition, a James Cameron film. And I'd always kind of heard about it, but I'd never, like I said, I'd never really seen all of it. So I decided for $7, what the hell? So I picked it up, paid for it, and went home and watched it. And this has easily become one of my favorite movies. It's got a lot of good things, a lot of great characters, moments, sets, action, drama. Uh, Rewatchability is really good. Um, you know, I watch this movie probably several times a year. This is the first time I've watched it in 2020, but I've watched it probably a total of 4 or 5 times back in 2019. And now Hippie is doing some investigative work with his ROV and is looking in the window of where the um, Navy SEAL team is, and he sees what they have, which is the the nuke, and he recorded it, and now he's showing Bud that they have it and that they're arming it. And he's telling Bud, and he thinks they're alone, but they're not. Someone else is watching behind them, and they don't know it until right now. Lindsay. Oh, she's hot. Oh, she's pissed. Gosh, she's such a good actress. It's a wonder you don't see her more. Didn't see her more uh, back in the 80s and 90s. No, it's psychotic. Lindsay started to go after him again. It's like, cool it. Yeah, you can tell now in this scene that he's really shaking and really starting to lose it with the HPNS. Some of the little things they have around this deep core set, it's really pretty funny. In this window here, they've got a stuffed Garfield hanging from the window. Garfield the cat. God, they don't make cartoons and stuff like that anymore. Garfield the cat, the real Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that '87 cartoon. My personal favorite growing up, Darkwing Duck. So now Lindsay and Hippie are talking about taking the ROV down there, down the trench to see if they can find one of those things and show Coffee that those are not Russians down there. Michael Bean playing Coffee, he does play a pretty scary character, as um, Hippie just described. I mean, yeah, he's psychotic in this film.
What the hell?
You can talk.
Huh?
You can talk. My mother's here, ladies and gentlemen. She just walked into the room. Do you need something?
Yeah.
What do you need?
I need you to go see something. Your medical things and put them in date order.
I'll do that later. Okay, so here we're coming to the pseudopod water snake scene. Now, before I get into this, I'm going to tell you all that a lot of people in the world think that either the films Terminator 2 or Jurassic Park, but mainly Terminator 2, were the beginnings of CGI characters with the T-1000 and the CGI dinosaurs, but that is actually incorrect. The start and the pioneer of CGI characters was actually in this movie, The Abyss, with the water snake pseudopod scene, which we are at right now. Now the water snake is making its way up to the rig, and now it's inside the rig, looking around. It's even able to open doors. Pretty interesting. So when filming this scene with the pseudopod water snake, to give the actors an eye line and something to react to, the filmmakers actually used a ventilation hose to act as the water snake for them to just kind of go off of. But in post production at ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, they used new software and pioneered techniques to bring the pseudopod water snake scene to life and to the screen. And now the crew of the Deep Core is seeing it for the very first time. They're like, what in the hell is this? One night's like, oh my God. Here it comes. And now it's starting to mimic their faces. It's mimicking Lindsay's face right now. So when the pseudopod mimics Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth's facial expressions, both the actors had to perform in front of a special laser scanning device. Jim Cameron gives them the direction, and the performances are recorded into a computer as three-dimensional data to be used for later to manipulate the facial expressions. Where Hippie is all this time. I never noticed that he wasn't in this scene until just now. Now the pseudopod is going to another location in the rig. It went to look at the warhead. And now Coffee and the other guys see it and they're just like, what in the hell? About to freak out. Yeah, not Russians, huh? And Sonny didn't see it either because he was manning the sonar. Well, sort of manning it. He was asleep. So going back to uh, the start of filming and the sets and everything, on August 20th, 1988, A Tank is still not ready, but they start filling the tank anyway. Both A Tank and B Tank combined draw up to, get this, 11 million gallons of untreated water from a nearby lake, heated and filtered to a very strict level of clarity. It took a total of 5 days to fill up A Tank to capacity. Last minute construction of the set stays just above the rising water level. In order to make the tank and the water dark, like the depths at the bottom of the ocean, they poured onto the surface of the water these tiny black beads that covered the entire surface of the water. And then above the tank, they put up a giant black tarp so the water wouldn't be reflective and give it the darkness look as if they were at the bottom of the ocean. Now Coffee's really losing it, and he's like, we got to take control and stop this thing, and we've got to uh, put these people in their place, which really Coffee and his companions, except for the innocent monk, are the threat, and not Ed Harris and Lindsay and all the others. So as far as filming scenes underwater, before a scene is filmed, uh, or sorry, let me rephrase that. In movies, before a scene is filmed, they use in movies a clapperboard and clap the top part to the bottom part to match picture and sound and to mark the scene number and take number. Underwater, they do that as well, but for underwater, the matching of picture and sound and marking of the scene number and take number, the actors um, or someone near the actors would hit the improvised clapperboard either on the bottom, top, or side of the dive helmets. On the helmets and backpacks, the respirator noise uh, is so very annoying and intrusive that during post production, sound effects editors went in and removed it. So you never hear that sound in the movie. All you hear is the other sound effects and the dialogue of the actors. And the sound goes something like, and during the production, if they said if someone would stop making that sound while underwater, they'd get really worried because if they stopped making that sound, then something wasn't right. Now Coffee just found Hippie spying on him, and now Coffee and the other guy are threatening them with guns and firearms, thinking that they're the threat.
Coffee? No. Coffee, just think about what you're doing. Just 1 minute. Just think about it.
Shut up, don't talk. 3 hours. I'm sitting this for 3 hours. We can't finish the work with these people.
What's the matter with you? He's the only sane one out of the three of you.
Everybody just stay calm. The situation is the guy's crazy as shit house rat. Shut it! Higgins, he's lost it. Shut up. Shockwave will kill us. Wait! It'll crush this rig like a beer can. Shut up, man. What are you talking about? Gotta stop him. Shut up! This is not our mission. Can't detonate without orders. Don't move, Jarvis. I'm the least of your problems.
So Coffee's got the crew trapped in another part of the rig, and they're trying to get to the mood pool to stop Coffee. So now Bud and Cat are going to have to swim to another hatch to get to the other side of the rig. If I did that, it'd be my luck. The damn hatch wouldn't open and I'd drown out there. So now this hatch won't open, so now they're going to have to swim to another hatch to get to the mood pool. And it's just Bud this time. Cat had to take some time to recatch his breath. There's coffee. Lowering the big ROV into the water. He's got the nuke tied to it so they can uh, drop it down the trench and blow the MTIs up. Bud's trying to sneak up behind Coffee to stop him from doing what he's doing. Come on, Bud, just hit him. Don't reach for the gun. Knock him out and then get it. There you go. Get his ass. Kick his ass. Ooh. I love this scene with this fight scene with the handheld camera. Just shows you how crazy things are getting with the use of the camera like that. Oof. Coffee's trying to choke him with this cable, and that's not working. Cat just lays him out. Good punch, Cat. Good punch. Uh-oh. Coffee made it to flatbed, which the big geek with the nuke is attached to flatbed, so now they're trying to get that off and stop Coffee, but that wasn't successful. Now Bud's gonna put on a suit and go after him. Hippie had this machine gun that they had, and he was trying to shoot at Coffee, and the safety was on, and then he turned it off, and bullets went flying in several different directions, and Cat's like, give me that damn thing. Okay, Bud's suited up and is going after coffee. And Lindsay just got in cab one to go help Bud. This is really a cool scene that they filmed underwater. Bud made it to flatbed. Now he's trying to undo Big Geek and stop coffee. So for the ROVs and the submersibles, there were full-size ones that were built for the shoot, but miniatures were also used for the submarines as well as deep core, cab 1, cab 3, flatbed, and the ROVs. And though the miniatures were all manipulated by the crew. And I think, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think um, Mike Cameron had a hand in creating and designing some of the ROVs and submersibles. And of course, like I said earlier, um, crap, Mike Cameron is James Cameron's brother. I'm not sure if he's a younger brother or older brother. Here comes Lindsay in cab 3. Just rammed coffee in flatbed. And then this turns into one of the coolest chase scenes ever done underwater using submersibles. Bud was able to stop Big Geek and tie a line onto it to stop it. But that line's fixing to come untied from the rig. And there it goes. And now they got it, but guess who's right behind them? Coffee. Uh-oh. Lost the geek and it's headed down the trench. Instead of bumper cars, bumper submersibles. We finally disabled Coffee's vehicle. Now he's fixing to go bye-bye down the trench. There he goes. Ooh. Now glass is starting to crack and his vehicle's fixing to implode. Or explode. One of the two. Boom. But that's not the only submersible disabled. Theirs is disabled as well. And they're flooding. This is the most scariest and heart-aching scene of this film. Probably one of the most scariest and heartbreaking scenes in cinema. So the water level's rising. They've only got one suit. The submersible's damaged. The air tanks aren't working, so Lindsay's fixing to drown. Oh, God. I wouldn't even want to play that part. Seeing or listening to someone drown like that. No. If I had to listen to that, that would haunt me for life. Lindsay just drowned. He's towing her back to the rig, and they're going to try and revive her. Coming up is one of the most emotional scenes in, I would say, the history of cinema. You really see Ed Harris acting. And his emotions really come out in this scene. So he just got deep core on the radio. They're getting all the medical equipment out to the mood pool as soon as Bud arrives. And here he comes. In this scene, you've got them trying to revive Lindsay, and this I saw on the documentary The Making of the Abyss. This is one of the hardest scenes for everybody, but for sure for Mary Elizabeth, because she was, she was physically exposed. She's got Ed Harris pounding on her chest, screaming in her face to trying to get her to wake up. And then they did several takes of this, and because James Cameron kept wanting certain things, and they were doing a good job with each take, but he was still wanting a little more. And she was laying there, they were doing the scene, and all of a sudden you hear the cameraman say, I'm out of film. I ran out of film. And she just sat up and said, what the hell is wrong with you? We're here working our asses off, and I'm laying here freezing to death and all this stuff. And, we are not animals. And she ran off the set. And, but who could blame her? That guy should have, reloaded film into the camera before they started again. So, but they came back and later on and finished the scene and really made this into a very, very powerful scene. And of course, the shots you see of Ed Harris when you see the camera looking straight up at him during this scene, Mary Elizabeth isn't laying there; it's just the camera uh, laying in her pointed up beneath the floor, getting his facial reactions and acting. like when they removed the oxygen mask from her. Man, they did a good job with the makeup on her for this scene. I think they lost her. Bud's like, hell no. We're going to keep trying. Keeps pressing on her chest, giving her compressions, breaths. And they're fixing to use the defibrillator on her again. They already used it 3 times once already. Now they're going to do it again. He's slapping her to wake her up. Jeez. And they got her back. After they revived her, it shows her in the med bay, uh, warmed back up with blankets and a change of clothes and everything. I always thought this was the end of the movie back when I first saw it, but I had forgotten that the bomb was down there and that they had to go disarm it. Okay, so now Ed Harris is suiting up to go down 2.5 miles down the abyssal trench to go stop the bomb, disarm it. And he's got on this special suit that allows you to go really deep, but it's liquid breathing fluid, like liquid oxygen or something like that. But really, in honesty, when they put the helmet on, they fill it up with just pink colored water. So it's not really breathing fluid, it's just water, which, I mean, damn. That, I don't know if I would have wanted to do that or act that scene. I mean, that's scary. I mean, you've got water surrounding your head inside this helmet, But one thing they did when they were filming this scene, the helmet, it's really not supposed to do that, but they designed it to where you could just rip the glass faceplate off. That way, once they were done with the scene, or if Ed Harris gave the signal to where he needed air, they could just rip it off and put a regulator in his mouth to give him some air. So he just put the helmet on. He's all suited up, and now they're filling it up with the liquid breathing fluid, which is actually just pink colored water. It goes over his mouth, over his nose. Now it's going over his eyes. Oof. Uh-uh. Now his body has to adjust to it. If you're an actor and you had to play a part like this to where you had to wear a helmet with liquid breathing fluid, but really it was just pink colored water, you cannot sit there and say that wouldn't scare the shit out of you, because if you say that, you're freaking lying to yourself. And he's got a keypad on his, I believe it's his left arm, to where he can communicate with them, since the liquid breathing fluid won't allow him to talk, prevents the larynx from making sound. So it's able to send a signal back to the specialized computer screen, and he's able to communicate with them. So they're helping him into the mood pool. And there he goes. I tell you, there were a lot of composers in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Uh, John Williams being my number one, but Alan Silvestri, he knows how to do music as well. Probably not as good as John Williams, but I mean, he's done so many memorable things, as well as Jerry Goldsmith, Hans Zimmer. I'm trying to think of a few others, but yeah, that's if you don't have the right score or music for a film, then the film doesn't work. But for this film, Alan Silvestri did a great score, and it works. And now Bud's at the edge of the drop off. He takes his first big step, and down he goes. Pure darkness down there. Oof. So in filming this scene, really, they turned the camera on its side, and they were pulling Ed Harris to the side. So they were pulling him horizontally, but they made it look like that he was falling, uh, down. So some pretty neat tricks they did for this film. Now he's at the crane wreckage. I'm not sure if he's past the USS Montana yet, but he's still sinking. They're able to communicate with him through a specialized microphone. And he's communicating fine with them. When Ed Harris was wearing this specialized suit, there was an instance to where uh, he gave the signal that it's like, okay, I need air now. So, and several of his safety divers, they can't be in the shot, so they were up there and they were swimming towards him, but he was like, my God, it seems like it's taking them forever. So they finally got to him, ripped the faceplate off, and stuck the regulator in his mouth, but it was upside down. And so he took it out and blew in it and tried to purge it a little bit and stuck it back in, and nothing happened. So finally, another safety diver came along and ripped that one out of his mouth and stuck a regulator in the right way, and he was able to get air. But Ed Harris thought he was a goner then. He almost drowned. In fact, he said on the way home that night, as they were filming, he said he just pulled over the side of the road, and he said it just scared him so bad they just started just crying uncontrollably, just sobbing, just because it scared him so bad. And he said it really wasn't scary. He said he was just pissed off that that was allowed to happen. And so uh, every time he, every time he knew he had to wear that suit, he just dreaded it. And so he was just so glad when the last day got there that he wore it. And he just said he was so glad that part of the shoot was over, which I don't blame him. I wouldn't even wanted to do it in the first place. Bud's still communicating with him fine, but he's having a little bit of trouble with his hands. Pressure's starting to get to him. So they had to shut down some more systems because the Bud can't hear him. The signal's fading. And he's really starting to kind of lose it. The pressure's really getting to him now. He's still falling in the ROV. He had to guide him down there, just exploded due to the pressure. He's so far down. One thing about the suits is, um, a lot of the studio execs saying, why are you spending so much for these props, these helmets and backpacks and stuff? And Gail Ann Hurd, the producer, had to tell them, it's like, look, these aren't props. These are life support. These actors need them in order to shoot this film. And so does the crew who's down there with the director. We're not spending this money just to spend it. We're spending it, in the right places and for safety, because this is, one of the hardest movies to ever be shot, and the studio execs were just giving them hell. And it's just like, studio execs, they don't know shit. So I've always heard that they don't know shit, and studio execs like to interfere, and I think we've seen that from what Warner Brothers has done to the DCEU. Lindsay is still trying to talk to Bud to keep him with them so he can disarm the bomb. That's a cool shot right there. A real wide shot of Bud falling down the wall. It's just this light that's just falling. It was really cool. He says he's feeling better. That's good. Now he's saying he sees light down there. They're like, what? How could he see light? He's hallucinating. But it's that purplish, pinkish light. I think we all know what that is. That's light coming from the NTIs. Touchdown. So he made it to the bomb. Now he's got to disarm it. Okay, everybody. I'm going to keep the commentary going, um, but you might hear the movie a little bit in the background. I'm going to step away for a restroom break. I will be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. So Bud just disarmed the bomb, but now he just took a look at his liquid oxygen gauge, and he's got 5 minutes of air left. So now he's just sitting on the ledge and decided he's not going to return to the deep floor. He's just going to stay there. And Lindsay's just freaking out. My apologies, guys. I know this commentary is probably really boring. But like I said, I'm going to get some, for the next ones, I'm going to hopefully have some guests on and some people to talk with and commentate with on the next ones. I'm going to do some more, and hopefully they won't be as boring as this one is. I know this one's probably going to be the worst one, but uh, maybe later on, a few years from now, I might redo this one with uh, people commenting on this movie with me. So I'll have to file all my notes away that I took on this film. One thing about James Cameron movies is he really utilizes a lot of the color blue. He likes the color blue. You can see that in Aliens. You see that in Titanic. You saw it in The Terminator, Terminator 2. Of course, you see it in this movie, Avatar. I can't remember. I don't know if blue was used a whole lot in True Lies. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, and now Bud is seeing the MTIs. And this MTI has come to rescue him. When he sees it, he's just like, wow. It's like Lindsay was right. They are beautiful. Um, One thing about that people always said about this movie, they said the last probably 20 to 30 minutes of this movie, they said it always felt kind of weird, like it took a huge left turn at the end. And they were like, you're watching this underwater suspense drama thriller, and then it turns into this science fiction thing. And one of the actors, when I was watching the making of it, said, you're watching this, and then the last 20, 30 minutes of the movie, he's like, then it becomes E.T. He's like, when, why am I watching E.T. in the abyss? They didn't talk much about this NTI set here that this NTI creature is taking Bud to. They didn't really talk about how they created this. So I guess it's just up to our imagination. But whoever did it, they did a good job. And now the NTI landed Bud and is using the water technology to move the water back so he can take his suit off, which I thought was really kind of cool. Excuse me. And then he's got to drain the liquid from his lungs. And there's several NTIs on the other side of where the water is, looking at Bud and communicating with him. Hmm. Yeah, that's how you greet an NTI. Howdy. Now they're showing them what's going on up in the world, the crisis between the U.S. and Russia. And now they're showing Bud that they're creating tidal waves to wash over all the land and everybody on it, unless they, humans, us, stop acting so childish and put away stupid things. Why are they doing this? Because we're a dumb species. It likes to hurt each other. And they're showing images of human conflict and war. Now people on the beaches of every continent are running for their lives, thinking this wave is going to hit them. I have to say this movie has aged pretty well. The only parts of the movie where you can see that it's dated or aged is in the parts where it's showing these people on the beaches and late 80s clothing and attire and hairstyles as well. Other than that, this film, it's really aged pretty well. Oh yeah, stupid news helicopter. Why don't you fly just right by the huge wave? Yeah, that's using the old noggin. And the waves are going down. And nobody has any idea that it was Bud who saved their lives. Now they show Bud why they didn't do it because of his last message to Lindsay, which says, "Knew this was a one-way ticket, but you know I had to come." And the last part says, "Love you, wife." How cool is that? And the hurricane blows itself out because they were the ones who were creating that hurricane. So now we're back on the benthic Explorer, and they're trying to reach the deep core. Oh, also about the benthic Explorer, they actually made a miniature of the ship on the ocean surface, which was the benthic Explorer, and was used out on the open ocean. And because of the size that they built of that model of the benthic Explorer actually had to be licensed by the U.S. Coast Guard. So that was pretty interesting to know. Now, uh, the crew on the deep core is getting a message from Bud and so they just got a message from Bud saying that he's back on the air. Virgil Brigman back on the air. Says, have some new friends down here. Guess they've been here a while. So now the NTIs are lifting their craft or whatever that was up the wall. And they're going to take the deep core with it. So now we're reaching the end of the movie where the NTIs come up to the surface of the ocean. And like I said, this is either their craft or kind of like a home base or something like that. And they brought the deep core drilling rig with it. And here comes Bud out of one of the tunnels, still alive. Everybody's glad to see him, especially Lindsay. She's probably not going to go back to the suit. They reunite and have one final kiss. And that is how the film ends. Directed by James Cameron, written by James Cameron, produced by Gail Ann Hurd, All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, that is the end of the film. Like I said, I hope you all enjoyed this commentary. I enjoyed doing it. Sorry there were a lot of quiet moments. Of course, this is kind of a long movie. I hope you guys listened to it. Like I said, parts of it may be kind of boring. I apologize for that. But also, this was kind of a test commentary just to see um, if this is actually going to work or not. So that's basically what this one was. Um, so yeah, um, hopefully in the next commentaries I do, I'll have people doing it with me, and we'll just have a good time commenting on the movie and uh, just shooting the shit back and forth and talking about how they made it and what we remember about the film and how we feel about the film and all that good stuff. So yeah, um, I hope you all have a great rest of your Super Bowl Sunday. And if you're watching the game, I hope you enjoy the game. I'm going to watch the game, like I said, unless they start doing that kneeling crap, and then I will not be watching it. But if they don't, then I'm just going to say, go Chiefs, and I hope Patrick Mahomes has a great game because I'm a big fan of his, and he went to Texas Tech, and so did I. So, yeah, so go Chiefs. One thing about James Cameron, I wish would he would hurry up and do is if we are going to get these Avatar sequels, I wish he'd stop taking so damn long. But in all honesty, as far as Avatar is concerned, I think they should have just, uh, you know, done the first one and been done with it. But I guess he has more of a story to tell. So, Western Space and Marine created the backpacks and the diving helmets. One thing about this movie, it doesn't get the credit that it deserves for what it actually accomplished as far as filmmaking. Um, Not a lot of people talk about this film, and I don't understand why. It's probably one of James Cameron's best, besides Terminator, Terminator 2, Aliens, and of course Titanic. Avatar's okay, but it's not my favorite. If I had to pick one favorite Jim Cameron movie, it would probably be Terminator 2, then Aliens, and then Titanic, and then probably this right behind Titanic. So, all right, guys, thank you for listening and watching. I bid you all a good night. Please like and subscribe. Um, please also tell your friends about my channel, Wade's Movie World, and more coming soon. I'm going to be doing some more movie reviews this week. And so I hope you all continue to enjoy my videos and my channel. I will say good night and God bless. Love you guys. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.